According to a 2015 article published by The Spectator, the poor drummer is music's goalkeeper. You only notice him if he screws up. A trite and slightly floral observation perhaps, but the comparison is apt and regularly made for a reason. While steady reliability is a core skill in any goalkeeper's toolkit, a 1% of renegades remain. Players like Jorge Campos, René Higuita, and José Luis Chilever, who bring an unlikely dash of drama to the sport. Those who are less Charlie Watts and more Keith Moon. Comprised of equal parts eccentricity, charisma, and excellence, Bruce Grobbelaar certainly belongs to that latter category. Grobbelaar is perhaps best remembered for the penalty shootout at the end of the 1984 European Cup final, when his goal line antics prompted Roma's Francesco Graziani to shoot onto the crossbar and over. But there is far more to his career than a single moment of gamesmanship. From the killing fields of Zimbabwe's War of Independence, to domestic and continental glory on the pitch and the unspeakable tragedy of Hillsborough and Heysel-Offit, his is a truly remarkable story. Born in South Africa in October 1957, Grobbelaar was still a teenager when he was conscripted into the Rhodesian army and parachuted to the front lines of the nation's civil war in an uprising against white rule. It was here that he told fellow fighters of his ambition to play for Liverpool. It was also here that he first killed a man. After 2 years' service, Grobbelaar, a gifted sportsman in his youth, returned to football. Visa issues obstructed potential moves to English sides West Brom and Derby County, but in 1979 he agreed a move from Durban City in South Africa to the North American Soccer League's Vancouver Whitecaps. He debuted for a team which included Ruud Krol, Alan Ball and Johnny Giles, and in a 2-0 defeat against Los Angeles Aztecs, for whom Johan Cruyff was among the scorers. A loan spell at Crewe Alexandra shortly afterwards saw Grobbelaar's improbable ambition draw closer. However, he treated speculation about a move to Liverpool with familiarly comedic irreverence. Manager Bob Paisley travelled to see the acrobatic keeper in a game against York City and was reportedly greeted with dismal weather and a transfer target who, when not walking on his hands or hanging from the crossbar, was sheltering from the conditions. "It was raining," recalled Grobbelaar. "I asked the tea lady Mavis if I could borrow her umbrella." And Paisley actually left after the warm-up. Far from being unimpressed though, Grobbelaar's habit of catching every shot and cross had caught his eye, and he decided there and then to take him to Anfield. In March 1981, he was signed for £250,000, considerably more than the goat, cow and sheep that had exchanged as a signing-on fee when Grobbelaar joined Highlanders at the start of his career. He was immediately charged with replacing England #1 Ray Clemence, and more challengingly, winning over Liverpool's band of hardened professionals. Now, this was no easy task for the flamboyant but error-prone star, whose personality and background made orthodox professionals suspicious. His transition wasn't easy. His early Liverpool career was pockmarked with errors, and arguably he was culpable for the club's elimination from the European Cup in 2 successive seasons. His performances drew heavy criticism, even the occasional threat from his own fans, and Grobbelaar's confidence was buffeted by what he believed to be overly negative reporting from the local press. Replacing a goalkeeper of Clemence's stature, who'd won 5 league titles between 72 and 80, and 3 European Cups in 77, 78 and 81, was also particularly challenging, especially given Grobbelaar's stylistic differences. By his second season though, Grobbelaar sensed the confidence building around him. He won his first title in 1982 and, perhaps more importantly, had become a regular participant in the first team's notorious drinking sessions, endearing himself to his teammates with his party tricks of opening beer bottles with his eyebrow. Whatever these bonding sessions bred, it has stood the test of time. Grobbelaar would win 13 major trophies in 14 years with Liverpool. However, his was a career backdropped in tragedy. On May 29, 1985, Liverpool played Juventus at Belgium's National Stadium in Brussels, hoping to defend the European Cup they'd won 12 months earlier. Fighting between rival fans resulted in the collapse of a wall, running battles between supporters and the death of 39 people. To the disbelief and against the wishes of the Liverpool players, the game went ahead. In an interview with the BBC, Grobbelaar recalled feeling compelled to play by the authorities' fear that a postponement would catalyse further violence and inflame the situation. Liverpool would lose the game to a Michel Platini penalty, but the result hardly mattered. English clubs were subsequently banned from European football for 5 years, and Liverpool were excluded for 6. But the domestic game was then shattered by a national tragedy which, even now some 30 years later, remains harrowingly vivid. With 96 fatalities, the Hillsborough Stadium disaster on April 5, 1989 is the worst in British sporting history. The crush occurred in the first half of the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, with a critical overcrowding of the central pen in the Leppings Lane terrace behind the goal Liverpool were defending. Grobbelaar was the closest player to the supporters as the tragedy unfolded, and as the situation grew increasingly dire, several fans called out to him directly for help. He would plead with an attending police officer to open one of the pitch-side gates and relieve the pressure, but to no immediate effect. Grobbelaar was the Liverpool player most exposed to the tragedy, to its harrowing sights and sounds, and in its aftermath, he contemplated retirement. But he would play on. By the end of the 1980s, Liverpool's great side had fallen into terminal decline. Before Grobbelaar departed the club following a deterioration in his relationship with then-manager Graham Souness, he would win a further two major trophies, the League Championship in 1990 and the FA Cup in 92. He joined Southampton on a free transfer in 1994. Unfortunately, the tail end of his career has had a profound effect on his legacy. In 1994, The Sun claimed that he'd accepted money to throw Premier League matches, a tabloid sting orchestrated by friend and fellow Zimbabwean army veteran Chris Vincent. 2 Wimbledon players were also charged, but all 3 were ultimately cleared in 1997 after 2 lengthy trials. Nevertheless, the decision was reached despite video evidence of Grobbelaar confessing he'd blown a £125,000 windfall after accidentally saving a shot in a match against Manchester United, despite diving the wrong way. To this day, Grobbelaar denies all charges. What can't be contested, though, is that he was one of the most successful goalkeepers in British history. Unorthodox and impulsive, but frequently excellent, and blessed with the strength of character needed to excel for a side of their size and standing. He is inseparable from Liverpool's imperial 80s period.